Um, High-end media partners.
Yeah.
When did you start that? What's the company about? And I mean, we see hemp. So I mean, I'll let you explain what and what you're doing. Like I said, I know this is going to curtail into the AI conversation
Yep.
because that's a very important thing
Yes, it is.
today. Even
Yeah.
though I hate AI, but go ahead. I'll explain later. But go ahead.
So, all right. So now, all right. I'm going through my time in the music business. I'm now at Kadar Entertainment, and we're doing everything with Erica Badu. This again. Timing is everything about the game. For those who don't know, it's about timing, being at the right place at the right time with the right people and the right music and the right artist. So now here come Erica coming out of Texas, dressed in 3/4 Earth clothes, right? Remember, gods and earth. No one's ever done that before. Same thing with all praises due to my brother D'Angelo. Kadar was managing him at the time. You know what I mean? Prior to him getting his imprint through Universal at Kadar.
Yep.
So what ended up happening was, and I don't have no problem saying this because what I mean, a lot of people didn't know I was ex-military,
Yeah.
right? And I had an incident with Kadar where it was disrespectful, and I had to let him know I'm not that type of person. I'm a man of respect. And if you come with that disrespect, I'm going to have to show you who I really am. Because I never really told anybody where I come from, all that. Nevertheless, Chico the Bar stopped me for what I was about to do. You know what I mean? Shout out to Chico. Yeah. Anyway, so when me and him had that falling out, I then created, some other things I was doing, and people were praising me. You know what I mean? Now, remember, I'm going to take you to something right quick, and I want to get to that question about hemp and all that. In the 48 Laws of Power, the first degree says never outshine the master.
Yeah.
Right? Now, if you study like I do, 48 is really 12. Knowledge and wisdom. Mathematics now, right? I was doing a lot of stuff that people were hearing about, including Kadar, and it became a conflict where he felt that I was using his outlet to do what I was doing outside of Kadar, which was not the case. I was focused. I was so focused on what I was doing at Kadar, I had other people doing stuff for me.
Yeah.
And it came back where I was trying to, use his resources, and that wasn't the case. Anyway, so I left. Kadar didn't renew my contract, and I started to work at the Orchard. This is when it was in Chinatown.
Wow. Yeah.
In Chinatown. This is when it was small, boutique, hand to hand, and I was the urban director of artist development there. I started to realize something, that the music business was changing, and I was changing. I was no longer wanting to be a pawn in somebody else's game. I'm making everybody millions of dollars. I'm still, eating, francs per se. I mean, I was getting money, but not real money. I didn't understand the nature. I thought, this is what I thought from what I learned in the street, that the code that we live by in the street was supposed to carry over in the corporate world. I found out very quickly that's not the case. I was so loyal to the mission from what I learned in the military that the people and the places I was going wasn't loyal to me.
Yeah.
So I got a call from one of my sergeants that I worked with in the military asking me, yo, Life, we need you to come back in the military. I said, for what though? I'm done with that shit. I'm on something else right now. Yo, we need people, like we need soldiers to see, leadership. So I thought about the weighing of the two. In the year 2000, I left the Orchard, went back to the military, and then the next following year, 9/11 happened. Now I'm at war. I'm now stationed at Fort Devens in Washington State on my way to Iraq and all that shit, what was going on. Because I was the only person from New York in my platoon and in my company, they sent me back to New York when 9/11 happened to pick up bodies at the Twin Towers because I was a combat medic. You understand? So now I'm dealing with all that. I'm no longer in the music business, but they did a big story on me in the military about how this veteran who went in the music business came back home to save New York City in the sense of my service as a military guy. Now you ask the question, where did hemp come from? So as I'm now getting into the cannabis world, right? We Queens get the money. I'm gonna just put it out there like that. All right, Queens got to get the money regardless to whom or what. No offense to other borough, right? Queens, we find ways. And for those who don't know, Bronx made a created hip hop, but Queens is the business of hip hop. That's a fact. We understand the business of hip hop, right? And you can look no matter way. We did the whole thing. All right. So now I'm now teaching my veterans how to get off the opiates, the drugs that the VA is giving us. And I'm using not cannabis terminology. I'm not using marijuana terminology. I'm using hemp terminology because that's legal across the 50 states. And I'm using federal laws to do what I'm doing across the country, teaching veterans how to get off the opiates and get on hemp. So now I get a call, another call, mind. I keep getting calls from people that know me, right? I get a call from my man who's now in Afghanistan. Yo, Life, you need to come to Afghanistan, yo. There's money out here. What? You need to come to Afghanistan and get out here as a civilian because there's tax-free money. I'm thinking like, yo, you know what? Everybody doing the same shit out here. I get on a fucking plane, excuse my French, and I'm in Afghanistan now. But while I'm in Afghanistan, I'm thinking about the hemp thing. And I'm also thinking about my passion, music. So what did I do while I was in Afghanistan, dealing with all that shit out there that was going on at the time? I started writing down, how do I merge hemp and music together? What did I come up with? High-end music partners, creativity on a higher note, merging the cannabis hemp into the music because everybody gets high in the music industry, either off of music, off the plant life, or just the life in general. So I said, let me bring it all together. As I'm bringing it all together, I start seeing shit in my head like, okay, okay, I could do this, I could do that. The next thing I know, it becomes now high-end media partners because now you're dealing with TV, film. You're dealing with all these things that I know that I'm a part of. Hence, hemp, high-end media partners, creativity on a high note. And here we are.